I was honored to be a guest on Jennifer Loading's Starter Girl podcast. Jennifer is also an abuse survivor, and she is now a successful entrepreneur, and she loves helping women thrive. So I would love for you to watch the entire podcast. It's all about going from not only being a victim, but to surviving and then thriving. There is success around everyone's corner. It's just a matter of what you do with it. So please stay tuned, watch it, and let me know what you think in the comments.
Welcome to the Starter Girls Podcast, your ultimate source of inspiration and empowerment. We're here to help women succeed in every area of their lives: career, money, relationships, and health and well-being, while celebrating the remarkable journeys of individuals from all walks of life who've achieved amazing things. Whether you're looking to supercharge your career, build financial independence, nurture meaningful relationships, or enhance your overall well-being, the Starter Girls Podcast is here to guide you. Join us as we explore the journeys of those who dare to dream big and achieve greatness. I'm your host, Jennifer Loading, and welcome to this episode. All right, welcome to another episode of the Starter Girls Podcast. I'm so excited about my guest today. After a successful career in the financial services industry, she and her husband took their expertise and personal experiences to a new level by helping others survive and thrive after narcissistic abuse. Jennifer can't talk today. In just 1 year, they amassed over 275,000 social media followers. Their live events now average over 20,000 views, and they have guided thousands from victimhood to empowerment through their masterclass, their ebook, their online courses, webinars, and one-on-one coaching. And their podcasting journey, of course, began with these impactful live events, showcasing their engaging and supportive interaction with their audience. And so I am so excited to chat. We get to chat with one of the two in that couple today. Super excited about it. But before we do that, we need to do a quick shout out to our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Walt Mills Productions. Need to add excitement to your YouTube videos or some expert hands for editing? Look no further. Walt Mills is the solution you've been searching for. Walt is not only your go-to guy for spicing up content, he's the force behind a thriving film production company with numerous titles in the pipeline. Always on the lookout for raw talent, Walt is eager to collaborate on film and internet productions. With a background deeply rooted in entertainment and promotion, Walt Mills leverages years of skills to give you the spotlight you deserve. Want to learn more about Walt and his work? Head on over to waltmillsproductions.net and let your content shine. All right. And with that, we are going to welcome our guest to the show. So please help me welcome Melissa Rymer to the show. She, alongside with her husband, are courageous survivors of narcissistic abuse. Together, they endured years of mental, physical, and financial torment from dangerous narcissists. Drawing on their financial industry expertise, they managed to protect themselves from complete financial ruin and rebuild their lives. Now they're dedicated to offering the same steps and guidance that they used through their journey to help others reclaim their freedom, independence, and self-confidence. Through their programs, Melissa and her husband transform passive victims into proactive warriors, empowering them to regain control of their lives and rediscover self-love and happiness. So Melissa, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm glad to be here.
I think I was too excited about your bio. I just couldn't get all those words out. There was like so much
It was a
stuff
lot
going on in there that I like it. I like the whole warrior thing too. I think it's awesome. It speaks volumes, I think.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit. Let's talk about what you guys are doing. I want to start there, like what you're doing, and then maybe kind of backpedal us a bit. What led us to this point?
Okay. All right. Like you said, John and I met, through a mutual friend, fortunately, years after we had recovered from the abuse each of us had suffered. And we were both in the financial industry. So I was offered an early retirement. I grabbed it and I talked him into retiring, and we didn't know what to do with the rest of our lives. I mean, we wanted to give back. We knew how difficult it was going through what we went through alone, isolated. People did not know what narcissism was back then. It's come to the forefront now, and it is a global epidemic. I mean, over 2 million people a month search narcissism, narcissistic abuse, just trying to figure out what this is. So it affects so many people. And when we started thinking about it, we knew we had to come up with something that would be a guided program to help others that are going through this, since it is a global epidemic, recover, get their lives back. So we help people not only leave, but we help them fight through legal battles, because, narcissists lie, and they will lie about custody. They'll lie about child support. They'll lie about assets, all of that. And then we also help people who have already left their abusers and are just struggling to move past because they feel so stuck because of the trauma and all of the emotional turmoil and all the triggers that your brain puts you through when you go through this type of abuse. So that's kind of what led us to start an online course. And then we realized most people that are suffering this type of abuse don't have literally don't have the wherewithal, momentum, and the physical courage to do an online course by themselves. I mean, that's basically maybe down the road, but we knew we needed more hands-on. And so that's why we started branching into other things, creating a financial series for those who are financially abused, which are most of them, and also one-on-one coaching, which is why we became certified coaches. So it takes somebody that understands it to talk to somebody that's going through it, so they know there's hope, and they know they can not only survive, but they can thrive on the other side of it.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
And what's interesting too about your journey, yours and your husband's, because you'll do this together. So I want to collectively put you together, but you having come through that. And I think, our journeys are very different, but I think, let me back this up. I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and I was talking about how the work that I do is really a byproduct of the things that I've gone through and how I embody my life now. So there's really no separation from what has happened and what is currently going on with the type of work that I do, right? Because it really, I feel like it's almost like a divine thing. Like I need to be doing this particular thing because everything that has happened has led me up to this point. So I feel like you guys are kind of in a similar position, that you are coming from a place of you had these traumatic experiences and you're being led and called that this is your journey. We don't want to say that, hey, you had to go through this. That's a good thing. But there is some good that came out of this devastating thing that is now allowing you to share your expertise and your knowledge and all of that and put that into a positive and fulfilling life for you, but also for the people that are getting to come into your space and learn from that.
Absolutely. And you're right about that, because when I was going through it, it was so devastating that I would pray and just say, why am I going through this? What did I do to deserve this? And it took me years to figure out why I went through it. But this is why. This is absolutely what led me to this. Just like you said, it's when I started thinking about my life before I met the abuser, during that horrific time, and my struggles after, it really took a toll on me. So if you can shorten that recovery time by knowing what to do, the steps, believe me, we made many, many mistakes when we were going through it. It's almost like I was always one step behind my abuser and then recovering from what he did. We were able to put that down. I documented in my journal. I mean, I had to, because of the gaslighting. I thought I was losing my mind. Most people go through that exact same thing. So I started journaling. So going back through those journals have been really triggering for me, but it also was a way for me to go, you know what? If I would have known this, I could have done this beforehand. That is how we created this course. It's taking the step back. So instead of always being one step behind, you're in front of your narcissist, and you're almost able to expect what they will do or what they won't do to protect yourself. So narrowing that awful journey for people is definitely fulfilling. I mean, it's what, keeps us going every day.
Yeah. And I imagine too, listening to you, you gave me chills in the very beginning because I can feel your passion in it. And I always know when people are like, it hits me when I know people are kind of in their space, because then I get the chills listening to them. I'm like, yep, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. That's it right there. I think, going through this, you probably had to do a lot of, as recovery for yourself too, and I don't want to get off on all of this, but I think this is important because I think it's so instrumental in everything we do in life, really, is the forgiveness piece. Learning to forgive yourself, because so much of what happens to us, we give power to whatever the circumstance is, the other person, the incident, whatever it is, right? Because we don't want to feel bad about ourselves, or like you said, why am I deserving this? Right. Yeah. And you don't, you're absolutely right. You don't deserve it ever. You didn't deserve it, but there was something there you had to learn, right? There was something there, and it's an unfortunate thing. I think when we get to that place, I know for me that when you get to that place of forgiveness, it's a really good thing, because you learn to not only forgive the perpetrator or the other person involved, but you also learn to forgive yourself, and you make peace with it. And that's when I think you have the most ability to create the most impact, because you can see it from a different lens.
Oh, gosh, absolutely. And, people think forgiveness is basically excusing someone's behavior. It's not. Forgiveness is actually relieving yourself of the burden of carrying guilt, shame, anger, frustration. And that's what I tell my clients. I said, no one is saying you are excusing what that person did to you, but why do you have to define yourself based on what they did to you? Letting that go, forgiving them, forgiving yourself, getting rid of the shame and guilt. And why did I not see this? Why did I miss the red flags? All of these things that we torment ourselves with, coming into a space in your life where you realize, I didn't deserve it. I didn't go looking for it. It was something that happened to me, and it may take me years to figure out why, but you will eventually come to terms with why. I have clients that are now writing memoirs. I mean, they have gotten to that point where, and after being married for like 30 and 40 years, they're writing their story. You know why? Because when you're with a narcissist, you don't have the opportunity to say your side. They don't listen to you. They're not held accountable. They're not responsible for anything that goes on. So you're silenced, and you literally, what I call it, is a character in their book. They plucked you out of your life because you had so much to offer them that they could not create for themselves. So they are like vampires. They literally suck that from you. And then you become a shell of the person that you were when you met them. And I tell people, it's time to take yourself out of that book. That is not your life anymore. Your life is here. Put yourself back into your own book and now rewrite your story. And that's where that journey begins.
Yeah, I love it. Well, you guys have certainly rewritten yours. And I like that you've been able to not stay victim to that and move into the place where you need to be. You're calling, helping other people, and thriving. As you mentioned early on about how commonly this is searched. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, because I really want to talk about you and your journey and, what you guys have learned in this process. But I really would love to know, because I feel like narcissism is one of those things that we use a lot in, in languaging. We'll say, oh, that's a narcissistic coworker, or that's a narcissistic spouse. And I think at times we all exhibit narcissistic traits at different times, right? Absolutely. Because especially we're achievers and we want to do things. There are times we are a little bit self-centered, but Absolutely. I think you probably know more than anybody. There are clear, defined patterns of behavior with these people that are really, truly narcissistic people. And I don't know if you want to maybe just share a few of those for maybe somebody listening, because there may be somebody working with someone like this, or somebody that's currently, they're involved with family members that are like this and they're having to deal with this.
Oh, absolutely. And, because of that very thing, we created a questionnaire. It's called, Are They a Narcissist? And it is a questionnaire that people can actually look at all 20 questions and actually rate them. Is it always like this? Is it sometimes like this? Is it never like this? And then calculate their score at the bottom, because once they go through this check sheet, and I tell people, do not put yourself into any of these categories, because I had people saying, well, if I hadn't done this, then they probably wouldn't have done. This is not about you. This is about the person you're concerned about. So this is all about questions relating to them. And if you're really honest with yourself and you go through all the questions, and many of them are, do they ever apologize? Do they ever accept accountability? Are their words completely different than their actions? Do they act differently at home toward you than in public? These
Mm-hmm.
things, do they put you down in public? Little jabs to tear away your self-esteem. Is it much worse at home? Because a narcissist, the control piece is what they thrive on. So taking away your confidence, your self-esteem, what made you you is a way for them to make you feel insecure, um, worthless, basically, and that they're your only hope. And so your sense of independence completely is evaporated. And John and I started doing skits on our channels because it's easy for someone to say, well, that is a narcissistic trait, or they're this. When you actually see it, and we do reenactments of what actually happened to us, you can actually look at it and say, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I'm living. And that's when things change. That's when we realized our audience is now resonating with a visual look at it. People would, oh, that's my husband, that's my wife, that's my father. I can't believe this. And it just exploded. That's when everything went, from 0 to 300,000 followers now. And it made us realize sometimes that's what it takes for people to go, oh my gosh, it's not me. I'm not the problem.
Yeah.
I am living in a problem, but I did not create the problem. So.
Yeah. And I could see that because the longer you stay in that, the more that kind of keeps going. You've got the lack of self-confidence brewing over here, and the control. And yeah, it's definitely a recipe for a disaster. So, well, I'm excited about what you're doing.
I can share that questionnaire. I can share the questionnaire with you, and you can give it to your audience if you want to.
Yes.
So they can take
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to just see it. I want to see it for myself. Just I listen to something like, I want to look at that. But no, that would be great, because anybody that's sitting in that position, like I said, they may be working with somebody. It may be a friend. It may be a spouse. It may be a family member. And they may be thinking, is that really what's going on? And they're kind of questioning, themselves. So I'm glad that you said you put that together. So,
yes.
So I do want to switch gears. I want to talk a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey, what you guys are doing. And thank you for sharing all that. I wanted to get that in there because I feel like that's an important part of what you guys are doing and what you embody. And it's why you're doing so well, because it's clearly a topic that people are interested in learning about and knowing. But I do want to talk about you. And I want to talk a little bit about this journey, going into this, like into the social media space, because you and I, we're not like, Gen Z, where we just wake up and we're like, we know how to do social media, right? Like we're having to learn all this. And so I just want to know from the business perspective on your side, like maybe some of the things you guys have had to kind of learn to work through. Is it the social media? Are there other parts of this? But what have been some of the big things you guys have had to really work through to help build your brand and your following and what you're doing?
Well, the social media was, when I say a tough journey, I broke a lot of equipment because I would just sling it across the room. And normally I don't have this rage temper, but my husband's like, honey, I'm not sure if this is good for you, to be doing social media. But it was so funny because in the corporate environment, I was an executive with a company. I had like a magic elf, I call them, in the back room. They made my computer turn on. They made, if something went wrong, hey, this is not working. And it just magically got fixed. Well, when we had to become the magic elves, we stunk. We absolutely did not know what we were doing. We didn't know. We had such a small presence on social media. I think I had 3 followers and they were my family. And so going in front of a camera, when I go back and look at my original videos, I cringe. I'm like, oh my God, why didn't someone tell me that? It was embarrassing, but then it also grounds you and makes you realize what you're capable of learning. So we did a lot of YouTube videos. We did a lot of, how do you do this? What does this mean? Of course, I have a son who's a millennial. And when all else failed, I'm like, can you just come over here? Can you just walk us through this? And so he would laugh, but he's definitely been one of our biggest fans. But the social media, the technology, things like that. But social media is a way to get your word out. And when you think about people, everyone's gone through something. And if you've gone through an extraordinary situation and you came out better on the other end, sharing your message is probably the best and most rewarding thing you can do, because you're helping others in that same environment. And people can do it. You just have to have the courage to just step a little bit off that cliff and not worry about falling. And if you do, and if you fail, who cares? Just go back and correct it. Don't try not to make the same mistake again. But it's been an interesting 18 months, from, having somebody else handle all of it to 100% us. So we have definitely learned a lot.
Entrepreneurs, are you ready to level up your leadership skills? Tune in now for an exclusive offer designed just for you. This is my time. Did you know 63% of consumers prefer businesses aligned with their values? Recognizing your core values isn't just vital for business growth, it's the bedrock of effective leadership. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or an aspiring creator, identifying your core values is a key step in constructing the framework of a successful leader, enabling you to lead authentically, expand your business, and live life on your terms.
I never settled on play, putting the kettle to flame. I go 100 all day, foot on the pedal, no brakes. 10, 9, paid all my dues, waited in line, 8, 7.
Are you ready to access tools to kickstart your leadership journey? Unlock a treasure trove of insights and get your free resources at www.linktree/JenniferLoading. Take that crucial first step toward realizing your leadership aspirations and elevate your leadership game today.
Ready to shine, brighter than all of the
I could see that. That was one of the things I was talking about yesterday on this strategy session was the social media aspect, because it's not a favorite part of mine. It's not it's not the most fun things. That I love being creative, but it takes me a while to really think about how I want to curate things. And I spend a lot of time thinking, whereas if I jump on a podcast, having these dialogues with, you guys on you amazing people on the other end, that is nothing for me. Like I can have a conversation with somebody all day long and could care less. It would just naturally flow. Right. I get to that other part and it's like, it's like a real thing I have to work on. And I think there's a lot of good in what you said, in that leaving those old things up there, because I think it gives other people the courage to say, here's where you started, here's where you are. And it also shows that you've also had the tenacity and the persistence and the grit to keep weathering through it and keep, doing it because you're passionate about it. So I think it's good. And I wanted to say, I share that with you. I share those pains. I don't know exactly how you feel, but I share those pains with you. I'm probably on a number of times. I have 3 kids, millennial and down. I go all the way to Gen Z. I'm like my son's always telling me, Mom, you need to do different things on TikTok. And I'm like, I hate TikTok. I just like looking for cats and dogs on TikTok. You want me to figure out how to navigate the videos. I put them on there, but like, I don't have the energy to try to figure out the algorithms and all of that,
That's true. It's that because they're all different. And so what you do on one, you can't do on another. That was a big lesson for us, because we were just post. This one would do great. And then crickets over here. And I'm like, I don't understand once you learn it, then it does become second nature. And it is interesting. They are all different. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of them. But it's been a fun journey, but you're right. Going in front of the camera, if I just do it off the cuff, it's like, I could be walking, I could be painting, it's whatever. But to actually get a message across, fortunately, John was an actor. He was in Hillbilly Elegy with the JD Vance.
I love that movie. I did not know that.
Yes, he was. And man, I told him, even though it was a teeny tiny part, I said, that residual check's probably going to be good because the entire world's watching it right now.
Yeah, I still remember that movie. Yeah, it's a good thing. And especially now.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But he'll be like, babe, you have a scowl on your face. Babe, this part of your hair is sticking up. So at least he's looking at it as like a director, and and all I have to do is just sit there and say, okay, go. So.
Well, we learn something new every day, and today we learned that new. But I did love that movie. Actually, I didn't read the book. I think my sister read the book. I want to say I watched the movie and I enjoyed the movie, so I'm sure the book was great too.
Oh yeah.
So that's awesome though. Yeah, no, and I'm with you on that. It's great. Sometimes it's nice when you have somebody that can pick up on those, those details that maybe you or I probably wouldn't worry about as much because we wouldn't know to look for that,
Yeah, that's he doesn't let me get behind the camera, especially when it's on him. He's like, my shirt was wrinkled. My collar's up, Melissa. You didn't see that? I was so engrossed with what you were saying. He goes, oh my gosh. He goes, that's it. You're done. No longer behind the camera.
That's his job.
It is.
That's his job.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you kind of, I guess, more on the personal side, because obviously having gone through this, you guys are probably, I'm imagining, big on personal development. You would have had to been to have gone from there to here. There's no way because you evolve, and that's personal development. So I would love to know, just how do you guys, or maybe you personally, make a priority, or what you do to make time for yourself in the midst of running this. You guys are doing really well with this business, but just making sure that you create time for yourself.
And you can get so absorbed in a path that you lose sight of it, especially when we went through the abusive relationship. You lose everything about yourself. I mean, right. I was into fitness. I love to paint. It just becomes so impossible to think about yourself when you're in that type of relationship, because they take everything. All your energy, everything is about them. And so you become less and less a factor in that relationship and in your own life. So when it was all said and done, I vowed that I would never, ever give myself to something or someone where my true self, my true inner spirit, my passions, everything I had was snuffed out. So I started painting again. I mean, that's part of my passion, and I love to paint. I can get lost in my painting studio. In fact, my husband had no idea I knew how to paint. When I first showed him a painting, he asked me if it was paint by numbers, and I went, no, I did this myself. And he's like, I didn't know you knew how to paint, and we had been together for years. But when you pick up things that you loved before, or maybe something you wanted to do, maybe it was a passion. If you were in a healthy relationship, that person would have encouraged you, not in a narcissistic relationship. It takes away from them. So I always encourage people to look inside. What made you happy? What makes you smile? When you think about it, what is it that brings a smile to your face? Because that is where your inner passion starts coming back. And you do have to make time for it. I mean, we're back in the gym. I mean, John's a workout fanatic. I'm a consistent person that works out. I don't go all crazy in the gym or anything, but we eat healthy. Like I said, we love to read, we love to travel. So you do have to mix those things into your life. Otherwise it becomes mundane and monotonous, and you lose your spirit, and so keeping that fire alive keeps your spirit alive. And so digging down deep and finding it and rediscovering it is part of our recovery program. Actually, it's rediscovering your passion as part of the, when you're out of the relationship and you're stuck and you want to move forward. Those type of exercises really come into play, because it retrains your brain to think outside of living in your past. So.
And that's a good point on all of that, because I talk about that too. I always talk about flow, which is the same thing, really. It's finding that thing that lights you up, right? But it's so much more than even that, because you think about it in terms of like creativity with your work, like idea generating. It's a conversation that I get in with people a lot. Like they'll say, I don't have time to do these things that I enjoy doing, and I'm like, but you really don't have time not to, because it's really stunting your ability to be creative and work effectively. Because when you get lost in those moments of, I don't know what you want to coin the term, it's like bliss, like you lose track of time. You're really doing something that you enjoy and you're passionate. It, like you said, it pulls this fire back into you, and it allows you to show up differently in the other facets of your life. So you are happier, when you show up for your relationships, or when you go to work, or, or you just come in a different kind of happiness, I think.
I agree. I totally agree. And people need to know they're worth it. It's not being selfish. It's actually, like you said, it's creating a better version of yourself. So you are more creative. You are more engaged. You are a better listener. You're a better speaker. You actually can absorb things better, because your brain is not so preoccupied with things that maybe don't even matter, and they're just holding you back. So, I call it a cleansing, area where it is time to think about yourself. You can't just always think about others. It's great to think about others. It's great to help others. Right. But when you ignore yourself, you limit what you can do for yourself and others. So I agree with that.
Right. Well, one other question I want to ask you real quick, Melissa. I want to know, you said so many great things in this. I know we could talk forever, but I would love to know what you love about this. What is this like at the heart for you?
Wow. When especially my one-on-one coaching, I mean, I have cried with my clients. I have celebrated with them. I have just watching them go from when I first meet them after several sessions, and then once we get over hurdles, because people always think, I can't do that. That's just too far. But the problem is they're trying to jump over all the hurdles instead of just tackling them one part at a time. But when I see their face, when I first meet them, they look terrified. Their color, their hair, everything about them looks stressed out, to be honest with you. And seeing them go from that to smiling again, to actually getting their hair cut or colored, it makes them feel good. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you look awesome. You actually took time for yourself and you went and did that. And it's getting the courage back. It's getting the courage to actually get back into their life and start living. But watching that transformation, John and I talk about this at dinner. I'm like, oh my God, guess what? And I'll tell him, because he has a lot of male clients. I do have some male clients, but I'm like, so-and-so did this and now they're this, or getting out of it. And now they are battling, they're standing up for themselves in court. And then even on the other side, once they're out and said, okay, now I'm ready to get back into working out. I want to write a book. I could talk about that all day because it makes me choke up. I mean, the transformation and the hope after the first conversation I have with people, they're like, this is the first time I've had hope, because I know I feel what they feel. I know exactly every word that comes out of their mouth. I know what it means. It's not like, that's just bad for you. I know, I can feel it. Sometimes it keeps me up at night, but watching their transformation go from that to where they can be and where they are, it makes it worth it. It really, really does. I mean, I have clients in Australia. I have to meet with them on a different day. Like I meet with them. It's my Monday night.
I know, they're way ahead.
Yes. So it's weird. We're on 2 different days, but they're like, no one can help us there. So it's a way to actually work with people, because you can get out of it. You can recover and you can actually get your fire back. And it's great watching it happen. So,
yeah, I have. And I just thought there's one more thing I want to ask you, because you've said so many great things. And this is more on I want to finish up with this before I have you tell us where to find you. But I want to know any advice. And this is on the business side, because you guys are in sort of in the influencer space, right? Like on the media, social media, all of those things. But I would love to know what your advice would be, maybe for somebody. Maybe they have a creative passion. Maybe it's a story. Maybe it's something they want to bring to the surface. Any advice that you would lend them for starting out in the beginning as an entrepreneur, taking that idea to fruition?
Well, and what I tell people, and of course I'm, an avid journaler. I just love it, but it lets me get things out of my body that I might not think about saying. So what I tell people is just think about what you're passionate about. And I do have some people that say, I don't know what I'm passionate about. You have to actually sit and think about it and close your eyes. Right. What brings you happiness? What brings you smile? What obstacle did you overcome that you're really proud of yourself because you did it? That right there is the start of a business. I mean, when you think about yourself and where you were, what you overcame, how you did it, writing it down, just getting it on paper, that can become a business. You can become a coach like that. You can actually become a storyteller. You can become an influencer. There's influencers that have lost weight. The things that they're doing now are unbelievable. And they started with just telling their story, just their journey. And getting comfortable in front of a camera might take some time. You can practice it. You might never be comfortable with it, but I always tell people, write your ideas down, write down things that, like I said, make you smile, make you happy, make you who you are. And maybe it's something that you had to reach deep inside to get you out of where you were to where you are now. But being able to share that, and you can share anything on social media, and finding the right platform. If you overcame, like public speaking. I mean, people have real fears of that. I used to public speak a lot. I would speak in front of thousands of people. I still was terrified when I did it. LinkedIn may be your place because there are so many people that have that same problem. So that's what people have to think about. If you overcame something in your life, there are so many people that are in that same boat right now and don't know how to do it. So being able to express that, you will find people that go, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I need help with. And just writing it down gets the ideas here out on paper. And then you can start planning and figuring out where you need to go. Where is your target audience? And Google, I mean, you could search anything on Google to find your target audience under the topic that you feel that you conquered. That right there will give you a place to start. And that's exactly what I did. That's how I did it right there.
I love it. Great advice. All good. Yeah. I mean, I think, overall, I think sometimes it's just actually sitting down and writing things down, right? Like it's just taking the time to get things down. I like to keep like a notebook around or just because sometimes I always get all my ideas in the morning early because I get up really early and I'll get them like when I'm walking the dog or kind of when I'm sitting at, drinking my tea and eating my breakfast. And so I like to write things down right in that moment. So because I forget and then I will be like, what was that idea that I came up with, earlier today? And so yeah, if I get it down and it may not be anything that I end up using for anything, but sometimes I use it later for something else, but at least I've documented it, as a thought. And I think that's the thing, even with what you're talking about with ideas, I think you just have to get good at doing that, journaling.
Yeah, I recommend that to anyone. I do it. I'll get up in the middle of the night and write a sticky note. Oh my gosh, because I know, did I dream that? What did I say about that? It seemed really good.
That
was such a great idea in the middle of the night. Now, what is it? So I write it down. I have it right there by my bedside. John's like, oh God, she's writing stuff down. But I do exactly that. I write it down. So.
Good for you. Well, this has been great, Melissa. You've shared a lot of really good things. I'm excited about what you guys are doing. I think it's amazing. I'm glad that you've been able to, take this and use it. Like I said, put it in a positive place and people are responding to it. I think it's an important topic. So I'm sure somebody listening to this is going to be like, where do we find these people at? Where do we find them at? So maybe share with us a little bit how they can, website, all the good things where they can reach you guys and find you.
Well, on our website, they can find anything, and it's www.thev2w.com, and it's spelled v2w.com, or they could just Google victim to warrior, and they will find us. Our website has all of our resources, pre-recorded webinars, the financial abuse series that they can take, booking a call with us if they want that, getting our ebook. Everything that we offer is on our website, along with our social media channels. And all of those have our, what people refer to as our link tree, which has our individual links that they can find different things, especially the Are They a Narcissist quiz. That right there. But I'm going to make sure you get a copy of that.
Make sure we get it. We'll get it. We can attach it when we send the file out. We'll get it in there. People can find it.
Yeah. Well, that's how you find us.
Awesome. Well, good. This has been awesome, Melissa. Thank you. I mean, you're wonderful. Like I said, I love what you guys are doing. Thanks for your time. I know this is going to be an awesome episode. People will get some good tips out of here and on both fronts. We're on the narcissistic side, but we also talked about the journey as the entrepreneur too. So I love it. That's what's cool about Starter Girls is we get to kind of talk about the things that are important, but also talk about the journey of the dreamers and the achievers. So Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, Jennifer.
Absolutely. All right. And of course, to our audience, we want to say thank you for tuning in to Starter Girls podcast. It's where we empower women, celebrate the dreamers. We hope you found this episode inspiring and informative. And of course, if you enjoy the show, go hit the subscribe, rate, review on your favorite podcast platform. That allows us to continue to bring content to you. And as I always say, in order to live the extraordinary, you must start. Every start begins with a decision. You guys take care, be safe, be kind to one another, and we will see you next time.